Imagine a man sitting at his desk at 2 in the morning. The computer screen illuminates a tired face, deep, dark circles, a cold cup of coffee nearby. He looks at the clock, smiles slightly, proud, and thinks, this is what separates winners from losers. 3 months later, that man shuts down his company. This is not an isolated case, it's a pattern. And the most disturbing part is that this man did exactly what everyone told him he should do. He worked harder, he sacrificed more, he slept less, and that is exactly what destroyed what he had built. Today we're going to talk about one of the most dangerous beliefs in the business world, a belief that is celebrated on podcasts, printed on t-shirts, and repeated by mentors in expensive suits. The belief that working 80 hours a week is a sign of commitment. Because the truth, backed by decades of behavioral research and by the greatest mistakes of high-performance entrepreneurs, is that this mindset is not making you more dedicated. It is destroying your business from the inside out, silently, methodically, and with your own consent. Let's call this phenomenon the effort-virtue trap. It is a psychological state in which the entrepreneur confuses the volume of hours worked with the value generated. It's when visible effort becomes the product, not the result. And the most fascinating and most terrifying thing is that this trap does not affect lazy people. It affects specifically the most ambitious, most disciplined, most determined people. The ones you would least expect to be sabotaging themselves. Why does this happen? There are at least 3 psychological mechanisms that work together to build this trap. The first is what behavioral researchers call effort bias. The human brain has a deep tendency to assign moral value to visible effort. When you work hard, your brain releases reward signals, not because you produced something of value, but simply because you made an effort. This creates a loop. The more hours you put in, the more virtuous you feel, regardless of results. It's a drug. And like every drug, it distorts your perception of reality. The second mechanism is identity as the suffering entrepreneur. In business communities, there is a dominant narrative. The true entrepreneur suffers. He sacrifices, he gives up weekends, vacations, relationships, and when you internalize this identity, working less, even when it's smarter, starts to feel like betrayal. It feels like weakness. It feels like you don't really want it, so you keep going, even when every signal tells you to stop. The third mechanism is what we'll call emotional sunk cost. The more hours you've already invested, the harder it is to admit the model isn't working. You're not working 80 hours because it's efficient. You're working 80 hours because stopping now would mean admitting that the last 3,000 hours were wasted, and the human ego cannot process that easily. These 3 mechanisms together create an invisible prison, and the worst part, the cell door is unlocked. You are the one who chooses to stay inside. Now let me give you a simple framework to understand where you are in this cycle. Call it the 3 stages of the overwhelmed entrepreneur. In stage 1, you work a lot and feel like you're making progress. The hours feel justified, there's energy, there's momentum, this is real, and it's not the problem. The problem begins in stage 2. In stage 2, you work a lot and start to feel like you need to work a lot just to keep everything running. Decisions become slower, mistakes increase, but you attribute this to the volume of work you have, not to the quality of your exhausted mind. You work more to compensate. And this is where the spiral begins. In stage 3, you work a lot, and the business stops growing, or starts to decline. But your instinctive response is still to work more, because it's the only button you know how to press. And it's at this stage that most entrepreneurs finally break, either the business or their health, or both. The question is not whether you are in one of these stages. The question is, which one are you in right now? Let me tell you about 2 entrepreneurs. 2 men, same industry, same market, same starting point. Completely opposite results. The first, let's call him Marcus. Marcus opened a digital marketing agency. In the first 2 years, he worked non-stop, 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. He was in every meeting, answered every email, reviewed every proposal. He was the business, and the business depended entirely on him to breathe. When Marcus got sick for 3 weeks, a simple infection, nothing serious, the agency nearly collapsed. Clients calling with no response, projects falling behind, employees without direction. Marcus came back from the hospital weaker and found a business that had shrunk during his absence. He had built a company that only existed while he was exhausted. The second entrepreneur, let's call him Daniel. Daniel also opened a marketing agency in the same period as Marcus. In the first few months, he also worked hard, but with one crucial difference. From the very beginning, he asked himself a different question. How do I make this process work without me? Daniel was not present in every meeting. He built systems, trained people, delegated decisions. There were weeks when he worked 30 hours and felt guilty about it because the culture around him said that was laziness. But while he felt guilty, his agency was growing. 2 years later, Daniel took 3 weeks of vacation. When he came back, the company had grown during his absence. He had built a business. Marcus had built a job for himself, a job with no boss, no vacation, and no retirement. The difference between Marcus and Daniel was not talent. It was not luck. It was the question each one was asking. So what do you do with this? Here is a practical protocol, not an inspiration list, but steps you can begin executing this week. The first step is to do an honest hour audit. Take a sheet of paper, or open a spreadsheet, and list everything you did last week. Next to each task, write an honest answer to this question. Did this need to be done by me? Not what would be ideal. What was necessary? You will discover that a significant portion of your time is being consumed by tasks that any trained person could do, and that you are doing them because it is easier to do them yourself than to stop and train someone else. The second step is to identify your maximum leverage task. What is the one thing that, if you did it with excellence and consistency, would have the greatest impact on the growth of your business? Not 5 things. 1. Most entrepreneurs know the answer, but it is rarely what they spend the majority of their time doing, because urgent tasks always beat important ones, and working 80 hours guarantees you never have time for what truly matters. The third step is to create what we'll call protected blocks. Reserve 2 to 4 hours per day, preferably during the period when your mind is sharpest, exclusively for your maximum leverage task. No meetings, no emails, no interruptions. And then, for the rest of the day, you handle operations. You will find that those 2 to 4 focused hours produce more value than 8 hours of fragmented, reactive work. The fourth step is the hardest. Redefine what commitment means to you. Commitment is not the number of hours you are willing to sacrifice. Commitment is the discipline to work in a way that allows the business to grow, with or without you present. It is building systems when it would be easier to do everything yourself. It is resting when your ego says that resting is weakness. It is saying no to unnecessary meetings when your identity has been built around always being available. Here is what no one tells you about the entrepreneurs you admire. The most successful ones, those who built businesses that truly scale, almost all went through a moment of rupture. A moment when they realized that the intensity that brought them to a certain point was exactly what was preventing them from going further. And the turning point was not working more. It was working differently. It was not abandonment. It was design. They stopped asking, how do I do more? And started asking, how do I do better? And that shift in question changed everything. Think of it this way. A high-performance athlete does not train 20 hours a day. He trains with surgical precision, rests with military discipline, and performs when it counts. Your business is your sport, and you cannot compete at the highest level if you are constantly operating in recovery mode. Remember that man at 2 in the morning, proud of his sacrifice. Now imagine a different version of that scene. Same entrepreneur, same ambition. But at 6 in the evening, he closes his laptop. Not because he finished everything, he will never finish everything, but because he has learned that the mental clarity that comes from rest is worth more than 2 extra hours of exhausted work. He goes to have dinner with his family. He sleeps 7 hours, and tomorrow, when he opens his computer, he will make better decisions, see opportunities that an exhausted mind cannot see, and build something that survives his presence. That entrepreneur is not less committed, he is more committed to the result, not to the ritual of suffering. The effort virtue. Trap is seductive because it feels noble, it feels courageous. But true courage in entrepreneurship is not enduring as many hours as possible. True courage is stopping, looking honestly at what is working, and having the discipline to change. Even when changing feels wrong. Even when the culture around you says to keep going the way you are. You are not being paid to work hard, you are being paid to build something that works. And those two goals, far too often, point in completely opposite directions. If this video made you question something, a belief, a habit, a pattern, then it was already worth it. Leave a comment below telling me how many hours a week you work and whether you think that is bringing you closer to or further from the business you want to build. I read everything, and if you haven't subscribed yet, this is a good moment. Until next time.